Welcome back to Combat Clarification Grappler Baki Techniques Explained. I'm Red Fox, and today I'm going to be explaining the Dashin technique used by Dr. Shinogi Kureha in Grappler Baki. A special thank you to one of my Discord mods, Lord Jitsu. He asked for this video on July 30th of 2023 when he joined the Discord server, and now I'm finally about to fulfill this request, so I hope you enjoy this video, Jitsu. Alright, let's get to the explanation, because this one was interesting for even me. Now, the Dashin technique, as explained by its user, Dr. Shinogi Kureha, is a technique where the user delivers a body tap that delivers a shockwave through the opponent's body, exploiting the fact that the human body consists of approximately 50 to 65% water. The resulting shockwave can paralyze the opponent with pain due to the significant internal damage the technique causes. Kato goes on to explain to Hanada that the technique is similar to Hokuha, then saying that the Hokuha in Chinese Kempo revolves around the concept that people flow like water. Normally that water absorbs the shock coming from the outside, but apparently using a Hoken causes the water to deliver an even greater internal shock. That's almost verbatim what we're told, but some of that wording is vague, and when I initially read this, I had no idea what a Hokuha or a Hoken were, so let's talk about that. So the word Hokuha translates to Northern School, indicating that this technique uses concepts that are also seen in Northern-style Kung Fu. Using the original Chinese translation, Kato says something along the lines of, "Karate is to train your fists to be harder than rocks, with the purpose of destroying human bones." However, the boxing style belonging to the Northern style of China is based on the idea that man is water. Water can absorb external impact. The force of the punch is to hit the target, and the reaction of the water in the northern boxing style is more effective. It's certainly a crude translation, like I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean, but generally speaking, it can be understood to mean what we understand. That Hokuha is Northern Kung Fu, and Northern Kung Fu has a concept where you can strike a person in such a way as to disperse kinetic energy through the water in their body. In the anime, it's Mitobe that explains this information to Kato, and strangely enough, he refers to Hokuha as a style within Northern Kung Fu rather than being a term for Northern Kung Fu itself. The only thing I could find out about Hokuha in direct relation to a specific style of martial arts was with Shorinji Kempo establishing the Nippon Hokuha Shorinji Kempo Society in 1948, but the name itself even just translates to Japan Northern School Shorinji Kempo Association, so odds are it's just a Shorinji Kempo group that was influenced by Northern Kung Fu. Interestingly enough though, when we look at the Russian translation of the manga, it seems to claim that Hokuha is a style of martial arts like the anime does. It reads, "Karate aims to make the body harder than stone to destroy bones." A long time ago, in northern China, a style appeared which mainly focused on the fact that a person is made of water. Regularly, water absorbs external damage, but the Hokuha style allows you to turn water against a person, causing damage to all internal organs at once. Honestly, at this point, I can't really say with any degree of certainty that Itagaki wasn't referring to a specific style in Northern Kung Fu, especially not without scans of the original Japanese manga panel, but based on the fact that the word Hokuha translates to Northern School, and that Hokuha being a general term for Northern Kung Fu styles more closely aligns with my own research findings, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to err on the side of Hokuha being Northern Kung Fu in general. As for Hoken, that word is either a straight-up mistranslation, or it's meant to be Northern Fist, referring again to Northern-style Kung Fu. The word Hoken specifically isn't even referenced or mentioned in the anime, and in the manga, for both the Chinese and Russian translations, the word was seemingly either translated or not even used, as it didn't appear in either translation. Both the Brazilian and Portuguese translations are almost verbatim to the English version, with the Brazilian version saying, "Unlike karate, which focuses on making the body hard as rock to destroy the opponent, Chinese Hokuha has focused on the concept that people flow like water. Normally this water absorbs the shock from the outside, but using, Hoken, the water is used to cause a large internal shock." And the Portuguese version saying, "Unlike karate, which focuses on making the body as hard as rock to destroy the opponent, in China, Hokuha has the concept that people flow like water. Normally, water absorbs the shock that comes from the outside, but using a Hoken, the water is smooth to deliver a large internal shock." So I wouldn't use them as a point of reference because they appear to be built on the English translation, and the English translation was done by Wildfang, a translation group notorious for being bad people who suck at translation and make stuff up. In any event, to learn more about the difference between Northern and Southern Kung Fu, check out my Styles Explained video on Chinese Kempo, but in short, generally speaking, Southern styles are typically harder, more external styles that aim to damage the body conventionally, whereas Northern styles typically use more soft style techniques and have more internal damage based techniques. Just for clarification's sake, these are simply generalizations and not all Northern and Southern styles adhere to this description. There are certainly shades of gray. It's like karate. There are styles of karate that aren't all just hand strikes and kicking strikes, styles that feature a lot of grappling and throws like Wado Ryu, but if I had to describe karate in 10 words or less, I'd 100% start by describing it as a kickboxing style. Again, generally speaking, Northern Kung Fu has several concepts that act similarly to Dashin, such as the shocking power in Hakka, a technique called Dǒujìn, or shaking palm, Zhen Dongli, which is straight up shocking force, and Dǒujìn, and no, by Dǒujìn I mean trembling or shaking energy, not the Dǒujìn that completely dominates your search history. These concepts exist in Southern styles as well, of course, but holistically speaking, they're more often associated with Northern style. In the Northern style of Kung Fu known as Bagua Zhang, there's a principle known as Zhen Dongli, or Dǒujìn. Zhen Dongli, or Vibrating Power, is a concept in which the user delivers force in such a way as to create internal vibrations within the opponent's body, with the intent to disrupt their internal organs and general structure, which is exactly what Dashin is explained to do. Dǒujìn, or shaking energy, focuses on generating a rapid, trembling force upon impact to bypass or penetrate the opponent's defenses and attack their internal systems, which is again what we see Dashin do. So then, using the idea of Zhen Dongli and Dǒujìn from Bagua Zhang, a Northern Kung Fu style, we now know exactly what Kato was talking about, but if you recall, Kato said that Dashin was like these concepts. It was potentially inspired by these principles, or just happened to work the same way, but it's unlikely that Kureha, a man who doesn't even know how to throw an untelegraphed strike, has actually trained in any Chinese martial arts. Rather, it's more likely that this technique, much like the rest of his fighting style, is based upon his extensive anatomical knowledge. It's like Yujiro says, take any style and break it down to its fundamental elements, and everything all comes down to anatomy. Being that Kureha is more of a scientist than a martial artist, it's much more likely that his inspiration for these techniques was actually the scientific principle of hydrostatic shock. Hydrostatic shock, much like the Northern Kung Fu principle of Zhen Dongli, is when an explosion of pressure or kinetic energy causes remote tissue damage to the body due to a shockwave generated in fluid-filled tissues. Hydrostatic shock is generally caused by a penetrating projectile, like a bullet, but the principle here is the same. Basically, Kureha's palm strike generates a wave of kinetic energy that travels through the liquid in the body. The strike transfers kinetic energy into the opponent's body fluids and tissues in a focused, penetrating way, often with very little outward motion, just like hydrostatic shock. Dashin is able to cause hydrostatic shock due to its focused delivery, the incompressibility of fluids in the human body, the propagation of waves generated by the concussive force of the palm strike, and the fact that there's no dissipation at the surface of the body. Like a percussive blast, the Dashin slap concentrates the force of the attack into a small area the size of Kureha's palm over a short period of time, resulting in a high impulse. This results in a phenomenon in fluid dynamics known as a blast wave within the target's body, with a blast wave being an area of pressure expanding supersonically outward from an explosive core, with the explosive core in question here being Kureha's strike. This is more colloquially referred to as a shock wave. There's also the matter of the fact that the human body is comprised of 50 to 65% water, meaning that the blast wave likely results in an internal fluid pressure spike in the case of Dashin. In short, if you take a tub of water that's filled to the brim and strike it with your fist, the shock will cause the water to splash. If you seal the tub off so that the shock has nowhere else to go, and strike the tub in a way that permits the force to penetrate into the water, the force will instead dissipate within the tub, but if you have, say, weak, sensitive little organs floating around in there, that's where all the pressure of the shock is going. Dashin's pressure waves will travel through the fluid compartments within the human body and stress weaker tissues like the lungs or blood vessels, causing the paralysis via pain and internal bleeding that we see. True hydrostatic shock in real life relies on its extreme velocity and piercing of the target to achieve the same effect, but Dashin more so relies on body mechanics. Unlike real hydrostatic shock, the Dashin technique causes deep trauma akin to a high-speed car crash rupturing your organs without cutting or piercing through your skin. Think of it like a sledgehammer. Localized blunt force to cause a shockwave within the body that damages internal organs with minimal skin injury or no visible external damage. It's like how you hear of people's organs being damaged or even bursting when thrown or slammed hard enough, like a liver laceration or a spleen rupture or even an appendix bursting. The reason why Dashin causes hydrostatic shock and other strikes don't is because of Dashin's lack of momentum loss at the surface of the strike, its high impulse and low displacement, its perfect energy transfer, and its timing and positioning. Unlike other strikes, Dashin doesn't cause surface deformations that dissipate kinetic energy before it reaches the target's internal organs. While other strikes cause muscle ripples, bruises, and whatever else have you, Dashin uses perfectly aligned structure to transfer energy directly through the body without causing surface disruption. It's all a matter of precise force application. Most normal strikes in martial arts distribute force broadly, striking the opponent's muscle, bone, and skin. The body's natural elasticity and the way muscles and bones absorb impact reduce the force's penetration, but with Dashin, it applies force with pinpoint accuracy to directly bypass the body's normal shock absorption, ensuring the energy reaches deeper layers. Dashin doesn't push through like a normal strike. It delivers the impact in an instant sharp strike so that the kinetic energy of the attack is transmitted through the body's internal fluids as efficiently as possible, which causes hydrostatic shock because of the rapid forceful strike preventing the skin from dissipating the energy of the attack. With its perfect alignment to transfer force directly into the body, Kureha then does one quick, powerful strike to cause a blast wave to generate in the body, like someone using a hammer to strike a nail. Other strikes displace the target on contact, knocking them back or whatever, but the Dashin minimizes external motion to maximize internal pressure buildup in a small palm-sized area. None of the force is pushing the fighter back, all of it is going directly into the target and exploding. Kureha also uses optimal posture, exact muscle tension, and the best possible weight alignment to align the strike and generate the kinetic energy for the shockwave, similar to his perfect one-hit knockout palm strike that he used on Baki. It's also very likely that he utilizes high-level kinetic chaining to accomplish this as well. For more information on kinetic chaining, please refer to my combat clarification on Grappler Baki's Mach Punch, but the short version is that he's generating kinetic energy from the ground by moving his body and chaining these movements together fluidly to increase power until it's released through a strike. Think of a boxer pivoting his foot, then rotating his hip, then twisting his waist, then rotating his shoulder, extending his elbow, and rotating his wrist for a corkscrew straight punch. Same idea. Of course, the most important aspect of how Dashin works is how it targets the body's high water content areas, like internal organs, to amplify the hydrostatic shock effect instead of targeting bones and muscles like a normal attack. The liquid in the human body is incompressible, so when the force is applied to it, it has nowhere in the human body to go, so it disperses outward in a shockwave. That's pretty much the long and short of it. It's a move based on the principles of hydrostatic shock with similarities to several northern-style kung fu palm strikes, and its primary function is to use a slap or palm strike to send a shockwave of kinetic energy into the target's body, at which point the shockwave uses the liquid contents of the body as a conduit to disperse the energy of the attack throughout the whole body. This attack, due to targeting a lot of sensitive areas like internal organs, causes pain so immense that it leaves the target paralyzed. It would be like taking a palm strike to the stomach, the kidney, the liver, the lungs, the diaphragm, and so on and so forth, but all at once. So I guess it's no surprise that a person goes into shock when hit with this technique. The power of the move is even strong enough to burst blood vessels, as we can clearly see blood coming out of the eyes, nose, and mouth of targets. Honestly, it's such a strange move that I initially believed that it was just a completely fictional technique created by Itagaki, but after seeing other martial arts mangas having similar techniques or using similar principles, like Tough and the exploding Vermilion Fist, I started to suspect that all these mangas were being inspired by the same vague, esoteric martial arts concept, and that I just hadn't been able to find it yet. After resorting to the nuclear option and asking Redditors if they knew anything, I pretty much ignored anything they said and moved on. Fast forward to 4 years later, and while researching for this video, I accidentally stumbled across my own post from all those years ago, and lo and behold, some of those Redditors actually said something useful and pointed me in the direction of Shaking Palm and Vibrating Palm. From there, I was able to dredge up the rest of the information and even found out about hydrostatic shock, which I'm happy to have done since, like I mentioned, it's pretty unlikely that Dashin is actually Chinese martial arts since Kureha's fighting style is based on anatomy and physical fitness rather than martial arts. Alright guys, thank you all so much for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and finally, with Dashin done, moving forward with combat clarification, I'll be covering all the requests I received in 2024. If we can get this video to 140 likes within 1 week of upload, then for my very next video, I'll be covering my next requested video, the very first one of 2024, a Techniques Explained video on Aiki, and I'm greatly looking forward to that. Alright guys, thank you all so much for watching, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video and hope that you guys learned something new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!